Welcome to Aligned to Impact, the podcast where conscious leadership meets bold entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Summer Huntington, and each week we dive deep with founders, innovators, and thought leaders who are rewriting the rules of business from the inside out. Here we talk mindset, brand, content, culture, the real stuff behind building a legacy-driven business that doesn't burn you out. No filters, no fluff, just real conversations that inspire aligned action and intentional impact. If you're a visionary leader ready to create with purpose, grow with integrity, and lead with your heart, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
If you are up and coming, my plea to you, I would say, is don't get stuck in one modality. I learned this from the video production world that, when I was upcoming, I was a composer and a musician. And I had plenty of work just writing music for commercials and for TV shows and video games and such. And when music libraries came out, which was around the same time as 2008, where a lot of people just didn't have the abundance they had before, everybody had upskilled.
Big warm welcome to Josh the Keymaker, who is the founder of 0 Point Activation. Thank you so much, Josh, for taking the time to be here on Aligned Impact.
Thank you, Summer. I'm really excited to be here and share a little bit more about who I am and what we do.
Awesome. Okay, so Josh and I hit it off right away. He is doing some really unique things. Josh, you've worn a lot of creative hats: musician, educator, videographer, and now you're leading a holistic wellness company. What personal experiences or pivotal moments led you to create 0 Point Activation?
Oh, wow. So 0 Point Activation, we are a holistic healing company based in Southern California. We work with modalities such as breathwork, sound healing, yoga, tai chi, art therapy, and drum circles. And we always include mindfulness in what we do. And we're working in health clinics with teenagers and kids who have expressed self-harm, maybe suicidal. We work in recovery centers and senior centers. And it has been some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. We started in 2023, and when I say we, it's myself and two other co-founders, Andrea of Gaia and the Lightbringer. And the three of us, we got together because they wanted videos. The two of them wanted to do a podcast. They had just met. They're both Reiki healers as well as breathwork practitioners, and they have other holistic practices. And I had owned a video production company. And I had been trying to create or find a second business for a long time. And it fell in my lap. I met them. They wanted me to make videos. We realized how aligned we were. And we instantly hit it off and decided to start a business, which initially was events. We were selling tickets to people to come to do breathwork and sound healing and movement meditations and retreats and such. And after about 6 months, we got hired to work in a health clinic with the teenagers, and that has now grown into many, many multiple health clinics, and we have lots of practitioners that are working for us and with us, and it's just been a beautiful journey that we feel like we're kind of just starting.
That's amazing that you were able to transition your event business into actually going into the clinics. Can you tell a little bit about kind of how that transition occurred for you? Like, how were you able to take these live events and actually get them more into a clinical setting?
Yeah, it's a combination of manifestation and just organic things happening and a little bit of networking. So as I was establishing myself more as a sound healer, my master's degree is in jazz studies, so I feel like I'm not that far from my jazz roots. At the same time, I'm still improvising, I'm still creating music, but the intention of the events that I'm hosting and the intention of the music I'm playing is significantly different now, in that we have a healing approach, right? And I believe that for anybody, if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur or running your own business, the best thing to do is just identify you as that thing, so that when people think of that thing, they think of you. So if you want to be a yoga instructor, just the world needs to identify you as such. And then when someone says, hey, I need a yoga instructor, you're that person, right? So I don't know if I brought it up or someone asked me, I hear you're into sound healing, and I was at an event and I ran into a friend who said, I work for this company that has a whole bunch of health clinics. We would love to start adding more of a holistic approach to working with the clients, and we want to add sound healing. Would you be interested in working in one of our locations? And with that company, to present day, we're now in 16 of their locations, doing multiple sessions every single week.
Wow. So it definitely sounds like it happened pretty organically.
Yeah.
I've had definitely some of the most powerful meditation experiences in like a community sound bath where they're doing, 30 minutes to 60 minutes. I imagine, is that kind of some of the modalities that you use, or the bowls and things?
Yes. So I play crystal bowls. I play the handpan. I incorporate some other unique instruments. I play something called the Portuguese guitar, guitarra portuguesa. And so I include that, but rain sticks, mostly resonant instruments. instruments that vibrate for either long periods of time or at different frequencies in order to affect our energy in different ways. As far as the meditation is concerned, I've been joking a little bit these days that people, I think, are looking at me, especially wearing my crystals and wearing my necklaces and beads, like, oh, you're so new age, And my response has always been like, no, like, this is ancient. Like, what everyone else is doing right now, like, that's new age, right? Like, all the drugs, medication, pills, like, that stuff didn't exist before. What existed was vibrations. We see drums and people playing drums, shamans playing drums. It's not because trees were prevalent and skin was there to make an instrument and it was fun to play. That was medicine. That was the hospital, the clinic. If something was wrong with your body, the shaman's job was to find the frequency that resonated with that illness and find ways to cure it with that and with plant medicine. So this is just something that's our modern society.
Well, I definitely resonate with that as far as like the vibration and the trance state that you can get in when you're in a drum circle. Like our natural inclination for me when I'm around drums is to move the body and to kind of do what our four-legged friends did, is to kind of shake it off, like getting that into that state of like moving your body to get out of that fight or flight or stress response. So you have these beautiful necklaces, and if anybody that's listening, you're not going to see them, but if you're watching the YouTube, you are. Can you share a little bit about kind of the background of those necklaces and garments that you're wearing, and just how you're kind of incorporating this spiritual aspect into your teachings?
Yeah, definitely, and I'll describe them for those of you that are listening and that can't see. So, first of all, I have 3 necklaces on, 2 of which have crystals in it. They also are green crystals, so they're green necklaces. So I have a malachite bead at the top. I have a quartz crystal from Colombia with a beautiful little green guy and some green beads holding on to it. And then I have a bead necklace that was, if you could picture, it's yellow, it has a bunch of different geometric shapes in it, but it was created by the indigenous people in Colombia, where myself and Andrea and Lightbringer from Zero Point Activation recently went down to have a spiritual experience, and we met with lots of shamans and indigenous leaders. And the indigenous people, they make these by hand. They are absolutely incredible how long it takes to create one of these. And we bought it partly to support them, but these are also necklaces that healers and shamans wear when they're doing healing ceremonies. And so I like to wear this whenever I am leading sessions, and so I thought I would put it on today for everybody. And then also we each have one, myself and Lightbringer and Andrea, and we had them blessed in one of the ceremonies that we did. And so there's a definite energy to the beads in this necklace, and then the energy from these stones are really earth energies, and I very much feel the vibration, particularly from the malachite. Like, I really very well to this malachite. When I put it on, there is a different energy on my heart chakra than when I don't have it on.
Amazing. And all tying it back to the frequency and the vibration of the crystals. And our fascia is a big crystalline matrix, and so being able to get the vibration of the music and the sound into our fascia is really, really impactful. So switching gears, what does a typical day look like for you, balancing creativity, healing work, and business leadership?
Wow. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, I wear a lot of hats. I've joked in keynote speeches before that I was told when I was younger not to wear hats, because if I would wear a hat, I might lose my hair. And I don't know, again, if you guys are listening, you can see, but I think I'm balding. I won't admit yet that I am bald, but I am balding. Maybe to some I'm bald, we'll see. But I've lost my hair from wearing all these different hats. But I am a father. I'm a dad of 2 kids, and 4, but I have 2 littles. And so I wake up with them in the morning and I get them ready, and it's like a full-time job just to get them to school. And once they're in school, I come home. And I have a garden where I grow my vegetables. I grow as much of my own food as I possibly can on the side of my house. I live in Southern California, so it's actually really easy to grow fruits and vegetables here. And that's kind of my sanctuary space. I mean, right now, it's all seasonal, whatever's there. But right now I have strawberries and potatoes and onions and carrots and peppers. And occasionally we get bananas and apples and other lettuces for salads. And I literally will eat my breakfast right out of my garden while I'm watering it in the morning. And so that's literally my way of grounding myself for the day, is starting in the garden on the side of my house. And then we wake up to emails from people that need sessions. So a big part of our business model with Zero Point Activation is that all of our clients know that in addition to the steady weekly hour sessions that we do, if they ever need extra help, we are more than excited to jump in and provide that, fill in that need for them. And so almost every morning we wake up to somebody, hey, we need somebody here at 2:30 and 3:30 today. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we have over 20 practitioners working for us at this time. By the time you see this, we might have over 30 as we're expanding right now. And so a lot of what we do is coordinating people and, who's in that location, who's close, who could do the yoga versus who could do the breath work versus who could do sound healing or Tai Chi. And we fill in those gaps for the day. And then we spend a lot of our time just looking for more clients. At some points in the day, I go to yoga. I try to do a 3:30 session almost every single day. I've been doing, shout out to Core Power Yoga. I do a yoga sculpt in a hot yoga studio with weights most of those days, and other varieties of yoga on the other days. And that 3:30 kind of divides my life between my work life and then my home life. And so after that, I pick up the kids, and I'm a dad. So we have sports, and we have music lessons, and all the things that my kids are doing these days.
Oh my gosh, I resonate so much with what you're saying. I have 2 littles, and that thing you said about getting them out the door is totally a full-time job. How old are your kiddos?
They're 8 and 10.
Okay,
and then Stacy has 2 boys that are 19 and almost 21.
Wow, yeah, you're full on. So you work with kids, adults, elders using trauma-informed and mindfulness-based approaches. Can you walk us through the kind of transformation your clients experience in the care of you and also your facilitators?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, the places that we are working in, generally speaking, are not centers for holistic health. This is very different than the events that we were hosting, that we're still hosting, but not as often, where people buy a ticket, they're really excited to be there, they can't wait to ground themselves and to get this amazing, incredible holistic experience from what we're leading. This is definitely not that. We are, in some of the cases, the only holistic experience that these kids are going to have during the week that they are there, or that these seniors or people, adults in recovery, are going to have. Because they're there for talk therapy, they're there for a safe place to be. They're learning neuro-linguistic programming, which we also incorporate in part of what we do. But to use sound or to use movement, yoga or Tai Chi, or to use art or to use these other therapies that don't require outside medication, that don't require having to just sit and talk. Because a lot of the thoughts that we share in talk therapy, I'm not against talk therapy by any means, but we are limited by what we're able to remember and we're able to see. And a lot of the trauma that's inside of us, we're either not aware is still there, or we don't really have the words to describe it. And when we have these vibrations that reach our bodies, specifically with sound, let's say, it opens things up. It brings back memories. It jogs traumatic situations that have been with us since birth, that we then can look at now wherever we are at this point in our existence and say, okay, I want to shed that. I don't want that to be part of my existence anymore. And here's a tool, whether it's, again, any of the modalities I mentioned, that you could use even when we're not there, in order to find calm and to release anxiety and to have a healthier life.
Okay. So it sounds like these kids are really looking forward to having this specialty service that comes in, that you guys come in, it's different than what they're doing all throughout the rest of the day.
Especially if they've been there for a while. I think that, anybody who has worked with kind of this extreme population knows that the first week or 2 is really sensitive. There's a lot of fight or flight happening inside of them, a lot of negative anxiety, and once they warm up to the idea that they are where they are, then there becomes a very incredible love relationship that is very positive and warm and welcoming, and they start saying things to their friends like, oh, you're going to love this. I don't know if you've tried sound healing before, but you're really going to enjoy this. It's really relaxing. And, they see it as just like a way to relax, which a lot of them can't do. Not just the kids, but the adults as well. But what it really is it's 2 things. One, it's shedding anxiety and stress. And as we know, stress is just a chemical. Everything is energy, right? So the energy of the chemical of stress is a negative energy that our body releases. And the more that builds up and builds up and builds up, the sicker we get. It could be extraordinarily damaging. It could cause heart disease and all these other things in our bodies. When you remove that, and replace that with oxytocin and serotonin and all these other positive happy hormones and happy chemicals and happy vibrations that our brains also release, then you start to heal. And essentially that's where the healing is coming from. In addition to just feeling the vibrations and the body and the water and everything that's in us moving in a way where it is intended to flow, we are literally removing the negative and we are bringing in and enjoying the positive. And it's a wonderful way to do that because, again, there's no outside sort of need other than just the vibrations of our planet.
Yeah, I used to say our bodies have the innate ability to heal themselves given the right circumstances, and when you give the body sound and frequency, you're literally changing the body on a cellular level.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm curious, what shifts are you noticing in how people are approaching wellness and mental health right now, especially as it relates to nervous system regulation and trauma-informed care?
I mean, I think the biggest shift, hands down, is an understanding that mental health is just as important, if not more important, than physical health. That there's so many people out there. I mean, how many of you are listening right now that just, when you think about your health, the first thought is, I wish I had a better body, right? I wish I was more muscular. I wish I was thinner. I wish this little piece of something somewhere would just go away and it wasn't there. And then much, much, much more down the line is, I wish that my mental health was more centered. I wish that I didn't have as many negative thoughts. I wish I could replace those with positivity and then share that positivity and that light with the world. And there's a shift that's happening where you start seeing school systems having mental health specialists on campus all the time. Colleges, mental health departments, school districts, mental health departments, hospitals, clinics are really finally starting to recognize that if we could cure people's mental health, then a lot of these physical ailments that people have are going to go away. And that maybe people will start to understand nutrition and start eating better and start feeding their bodies the food that we want. I mean, literally vitamins grow on trees. It's literally been hidden inside of the fruits and the vegetables. And if we understand that that is a better way to heal ourselves, along with movement like yoga and like Tai Chi, and then just a better understanding of self and just quiet and calm and going within, that's really how we need to heal ourselves. And so I think that as a generalization, society is starting to recognize this a lot more. I mean, the biggest change significantly for us is that the health insurance companies that are funding a lot of these health clinics are recognizing that these holistic types of healing are fundable, and that this is something that they can also help with, and this is the type of care they can also help with. And so I think we're seeing major strides in a lot of acceptance and the importance of mental health.
Yeah, there's a book called Body Mind by Kevin, I think his last name is Kevin Dykdal, and it's one of our required readings for my teacher training. And I read that book, and it talks about how in Western culture we talk about the body and the mind as separate, but truly the body mind are interconnected. It's woven in, like our thoughts impact our body and vice versa, and it's really our nervous system and our soma, which is just kind of ties into what you're saying. So with so many new tools emerging, like wearables, meditation apps, biofeedback, how do you see technology either supporting or distracting from true healing?
Oh, it's so interesting. There is so much that we can gain from some of the technology, but there is also so much of the technology that I think is a little bit off point, or they're trying to convince the world that things exist that don't. I think that we're going to see major strides in audio frequency devices. So literally using different specific vibrations and different hertz to affect different parts and different organs in our body. So I think that a lot of studies in cymatics, for example, which is a study of the shapes of sound, is going to influence a lot more medical devices that are using sound and sound healing. I think light machines. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced some of these light machines that just flash a white light over your eyes. I've been seeing them more at some of the holistic events that I go to. You just close your eyes and it flashes a white light, and you literally see shapes and you see colors that are unbelievably vivid and bright and really mimic what a plant medicine journey might be like without having to take the plant medicine and without having any side effects before or after. And again, it's all about finding time for yourself to calm your mind, to calm your body, to go within, to release the anxiety and replace it with the happy hormones, the natural positivity that our brains and bodies can release.
Well, I definitely tried some of those little light devices, and they give you that little geometric experience, and it's very calming. It's like you can use these apparatus to give you kind of that effect. But I think you're right. I think that there's definitely some benefit to using the old school instruments, like the old school vibration, like being present with your body, so that you can get the natural chemicals released. What's really lighting you up right now in the work you're doing, whether it's a modality that's resonating with you or a project that feels really aligned?
I think everything. I mean, everything that I am doing at this moment, I believe very deeply is exactly what I was meant to do and why I am here. And it's not just one modality. I mean, I think just knowing that every single day, 0 Point Activation has people out there that are affecting individuals in a positive way to help them to then affect more individuals in a positive way, spreading the light, removing the darkness, fighting the darkness in the world is so rewarding. And it just makes me feel like, everything I've been trying to do in my life is culminating to what I'm doing right now through music and through education and through working with people and trying to help people to just discover who they are in order for everybody to just be their best selves.
Nice. I feel like when you have a job where you really genuinely love what you're doing and it's impacting people, it's like a feedback loop where you go in, you support people, and you get energy from that as well as a facilitator. Do you find that to be true sometimes?
100%, and then it makes me more effective, I think, in what I do, because I am showing my most authentic self that I could possibly demonstrate to the world right now. I mean, I think a lot of the concepts that we're sharing are a little hard for some people to grasp, especially if they've never had any experience with energy work or holistic healing. But at the core of what we're trying to get across the world is that there is a light that is inside of all of us. And actually, there's a study I was just reading the other day. It's actually a physical light. We have bioluminescence in our bodies that are on a frequency that our eyes cannot see, but there is absolute proof. And as soon as our body dies and leaves this world and rises, that goes away. So there is a physical light that we all have, and then there's that light that's inside of us that is our vibration that we resonate with to the world. And it manifests itself in 5 senses. I talk a lot, especially in our clinical work, with sound is the most obvious one because we know sound is a vibration, right? And that's all it is. It's a vibration. Now, it's not a 2-dimensional vibration like we see written down. It's a 3-dimensional cone. And if you take a slice of that cone, it's a shape. And when we look at the cymatics of the shape, it's mandalas and it's sacred geometry, right? And our ears interpret it as sound, but all it is it's a vibration. Our eyes, we sense light. What's light? It's a vibration, right? It's energy. And that's all it is. We have frequencies on one side, we have frequencies on the other. That's why we have all the different colors in my necklace. That's why we have all the different colors around us. Taste, smell, touch. It's just energy. It's all vibrations. Everything that we have in these amazing, beautiful spacesuits is nothing more than a sensor, a bunch of different sensors for all the vibrations and all the energy of the world. And so if we, as individuals, can surround ourselves with the most positive energy and the most positive people and learn ways that we can be more positive in order to make ourselves healthier, then the entire world will gain from that little by little by little. And you'll see the darkness is going to start to go away. The negative vibes, negative energies are going to go away. And we're going to start seeing, I think, a lot more people understanding themselves and sharing more positivity with everybody in the world.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, it made me really think about how much time we spend on devices and the vibration that's associated when we're on our phones or kind of scrolling, or how much technology we're consuming. I'm curious if you have any insight. I know you spend a lot of time out in Colombia and some other sacred places just kind of getting unplugged. I'm curious if you have any feedback around music and sound therapy as a vehicle to help us defrag our brain from being constantly engaged in devices.
Yeah, I mean, that's really 2 things. And one of the challenges that we all have is that almost all of us are consuming our music from those devices. And so if we want to change a track, we have to look at the phone. If we want to listen to another podcast, we have to look at the phone, and these are the same devices that are distracting us. I share that depression comes from the past, and anxiety is caused from fear of the future. So the easiest way to get rid of both depression and anxiety is to live in this moment right now, and realizing and recognizing that you don't have to ascribe to anything you have ever been taught before now, and you don't have to fear the future because it hasn't happened yet, and it's your future and you're in charge of it. And doom scrolling on phones, which I won't, I'll be honest, I'm on my social media way more than I think I want to be throughout the day, right? But all social media is the past. We are literally flashing through things that have already happened. It already happened. It happened today. It happened yesterday. It happened a week ago. It happened 10 years ago. It happened on this dates, these wars, these times, and most of it's negative. Most of it's intended to create that fear. The companies want us to feel like we're not enough and we're inadequate. The government wants us to feel like there's a doomsday scenario every single day, right? There's a disease of the week every single week that we must fear and be afraid of. And so The model of social media is live in the past and fear it, create more depression, and then you're going to have more anxiety fearing the future. Now I have a hack, okay? And I'm sharing this especially with the teens because, as we know, teens spend a lot of time on the phones. Adults do too, but so do the teens. And I call this hack your algorithm. And my challenge to everybody, which most people don't do, every time you see something that's on your social media that you don't resonate with positively, click that don't like this, don't want to see more button. Don't like this, don't want to see more. And then do the opposite. Only like the things that are helping you to be your best self, that are helping you to improve. And what you're going to start to notice over time is that social media becomes a lot less of, let's look at silly cats and silly dogs, and let's look a lot less at the negative things happening in the world and the fear and the government and all these things. And instead, let's turn this into a self-help app. And let's learn about the positivity in the world and the positive things that are happening. If you look at my social media right now, it's a lot of gardening. It's a lot of, being one with the earth. It's a lot of learning how to meditate better. It's a lot of mindfulness. It's mindfulness is what my social media has become. And if you looked at that before I met Andrea and Lightbringer and started 0 Point Activation, it was a very different feed. I will tell you that. And none of it served me. It wasn't anything that was helping me to elevate myself in my life.
I love this. I'm definitely going to be hacking my algorithm.
Hack your algorithm.
I'm definitely over business coaching all the time. I'd much rather be looking at self-help and just biohacking. I'm really into biohacking right now and just eliminating coffee and doing the mushroom, the mushroom mix and lemon water. I'm just really on a kick right now. So I think that was a good little tip for.
Stay there, live there. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I think growing your own food is really, really important. Everybody and anybody can do it. Even if you're in a studio apartment with a ledge, you can just get some pots and you can grow onions. You can grow bananas inside of your house, whether you know it or not. And it helps us to connect with the earth because we are the earth, and it helps us to give back to the earth. We are consumers, and we are living in a time where we're being taught that it's okay to just use, take. It's okay if we cut down trees. It's okay if we spoil the oceans. It's okay if we eat fast food. We don't need to know where the food comes from because if we knew, it would just make it darker, But if you know that you can then take some of yourself and give back to the earth, regrow some of your own food, regrow some of your own plants, share more oxygen with the world, give food to friends, which I'm constantly doing, giving people, grow zucchini. You can never ever eat the amount of zucchini that your garden is going to give to you. If you live in a place where zucchini is a possibility, you will never eat the amount of zucchini. Nobody eats 10 zucchini a week, and that's what these plants are creating, right? So now you've got an opportunity to say, hey neighbor, hey friend, I'd like to talk to you right now, because we live right next door to each other and we don't talk. I brought you a zucchini, right? Which seems random, but at the same time, it helps build community. And again, it's part of my way of giving back to the earth and not just taking all the time.
Yeah, it's a good reminder. I was just doing a little garden party last week at a friend's property, and just getting your hands into the dirt and just walking barefoot in the dirt just has an actual grounding, gets you into parasympathetic, which is pretty cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm curious, what has been challenging for you as a founder and facilitator, especially when trying to scale a business that's rooted deeply in personal transformation?
I think that my biggest challenge, throughout all of my life, has been what somebody referred to me once as work-life harmony. So I'm going to steal this from somebody, and I don't know his name, so I can't quote him directly, but everybody talks about work-life balance, right? Spoiler, I discovered a while back from this gentleman, there is no such thing as work-life balance. It will never be balanced. You're always going to be focusing a little bit more of your time into work, a little bit more time into yourself, family, whatever that thing is, right? What I strive to achieve is work-life harmony. It's recognizing that there are times where it's okay if I'm giving more to work, or it's okay if I'm giving more to my family and less to work, or more to myself while I ignore everything else around me, as long as it's harmonious. And most of the time, I can achieve that quite well. But like anybody else who has a very busy, active, exciting life, I sometimes struggle with that work-life harmony and making sure that everybody around me is receiving what they need, but then also that I am receiving what I need. And the game changer for me is yoga. And that commitment that I can go to yoga 5 days a week. I just need to change something in my life to make that happen. I mean, it was so many times my negative thoughts got the best of me. And, the monkey mind is going, you can't do it, you can't do it. You have to work, you have to work, you have to get your kids, you have to go here, you have to go there, you have to do this. 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What are you doing going to yoga at 2 in the afternoon? You're supposed to be doing something else, right? And I just decided, you know what? I'm just going to do that and then find the time to do those other things. And I know not everybody has that luxury. I totally respect that. 9-to-5 job's a 9-to-5 job. You do what you can. Then go to yoga at 7. And I don't care if it's 7 at night or 7 in the morning. Make that time to do it because you're going to live longer, you're going to be happier, and as a result, everybody around you is going to be happier and going to experience a more positive life.
Preach. I'm a yoga coach, so that's one of the first things we do is like figure out where in your life you can carve out time. And generally there's a morning or there's an afternoon, and that's like 14 opportunities. And then there's the midday. There's like 21 opportunities in a week. So I love that you're embodying that, and I think that's probably what makes you such a powerful leader in this space too, is that you really do live and breathe it yourself, and you've created the habit and the lifestyle to really embody it.
Well, and if I could share one more just tidbit, like this wasn't me my whole life. A lot of this I discovered in my 40s. I'm 45 right now, and a lot of this I've only discovered in the past 4 or 5 years. So, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter, where you are. Back to my point earlier, right now you can make a decision that will change your entire life. And it might be hard, but the harder the decision, the more uncomfortable you get. The more uncomfortable you get, the bigger the reward. It's part of the challenge of living how we live in the world that we live in, right? I mean, think about the top 5 most profound things that you have ever experienced in your life that changed your life forever in a positive direction. It might have been deciding to move away. It might have been deciding to quit your job and get a new one. It might have been leaving a relationship that you really believed in, that you had to break free from in order to make a change. And then soon enough, later on, you found a better relationship and a better job and a better experience and a higher paycheck and more, right? We have to become uncomfortable in order to grow. That's part of the design of the human experience. And, it doesn't matter. Again, for me, I've discovered most of this in my 40s. So I'm always amazed and impressed by those that are, much younger than I, that have already kind of found a lot of the things that took me a long time to find. But you know what? I wasn't ready for it then. It was the wrong time. And, I am grateful that I was able to kind of elevate myself when I did. And, just see what comes from that being uncomfortable here and there.
Yeah, transformation requires you to let go of old identities, old patterns, old habits, and step into new levels, which sometimes can be uncomfortable, and that's okay.
It is.
So as a conscious business running 0 Point Activation, what are you measuring or tracking to stay aligned with your mission?
I mean, there's 2 answers to this, obviously, right? There's the tangible numbers. So we have goals about how many sessions we want to be doing per week, per month, per year, and we've had a very steady growth since we've started. So every single month there's been about 20% more sessions than the month before, and it's been pretty consistent like that. And it's a combination, again, of, I think, us just really planning well. I think it's us manifesting certain things, us making sure we don't grow too quickly, because then we aren't going to be able to sustain this month to handle next month. But I also think that we're measuring one person at a time. I mean, this is something I learned as a jazz musician, is that, like, if you have one person in the audience that resonates with you, then you just did your job, and it's a blessing for jazz musicians because there's usually only 5 or 6 people in the audience. I'm kidding, kind of sad but true. There used to be this thing called a jazz gig where you could go to a restaurant or a bar and play music and get paid to do it. It's really whittled itself down in the last 20, 30 years, but I kind of joke. At the same time, for me personally, if I'm in a room and one person I could tell was inspired by what I shared, then I can't ask for any more than that.
So it's a combination of looking at the metrics, the sessions, and how the business is growing and tracking that 20%, and then also just individuals. And to your note about jazz shows, I did get to go to a real jazz show. There was more than 10 people at it in New York, but this was like probably 8 or 10 years ago. So I'm bummed to hear that that's dying out. For all of our jazz fans. All right, so looking forward to 6 to 12 months ahead, what's next for 0 Point Activation? Are you dreaming up any new programs, collabs, like audiences, anything like that?
Yeah, and by the way, I want to thank you for doing everything that you were doing, and for giving us a stage, and for creating this space, because there are a handful of people out there, who really understand the need to collaborate and the need to work with others, and that we are stronger as a group than we are alone. There's that irony of, again, I'm going to go back to your yoga roots and mine. The word yoga means unity, and that's really unity of self. But there's a reason why we do it in groups. That it's a unity of the group of people who are together. That it's not about the instructor, being the person who we are facilitating our energy through. It's self, but all the energy in that group is creating the unity of the group and makes it stronger. And so with us, there's a few things coming up. Obviously, again, like Brian, Andrea, and I are all working hard every single day to get more locations that we're trying to work in. And then one other aspect of it that I hadn't really brought up is our practitioners are like the most amazing people on the planet. We've interviewed to date almost 100 people, and we've only hired a little over 20 right now. Again, we're doing more hiring as we speak. But we're being really selective. But what's happening is that we are surrounding ourselves with healers of different modalities. And we've created what we call the 0 Point Activation Tribe. And that tribe of people is just as important to us as is the clients that we're serving. And so we are helping them to elevate and to learn different skills, different modalities, to help them be better, to be able to provide them an opportunity to work in a situation that they may never thought that they were ever going to work in, or to get more experience working with kids, or working with people in recovery, or working with seniors. And so as we are expanding that tribe, and we are all a unity of people that are growing together, that again are then going to help more and more people, and there's a ripple effect there. So in addition to that, I think that we're going to be coming back to kind of our original roots, and doing some more events. So we encourage all of our followers that used to come to everything, that are so amazing and such incredible people, some of which themselves we're learning now are becoming healers, just from having come to the 0 Point Activation events that we used to do. That we're going to start doing events again. We've kind of taken a break from it to just expand the company and the clinical work that we're doing. But we are going to be doing a lot more live events similar to the ones that we did when we started the company.
Amazing. Yeah, that was definitely something that I was thinking about. Is like, how can we get involved outside of the clinics that you're serving? Is there a place that you're doing public events? And it sounds like you are. Yeah. Awesome.
And then I hate to put this plug in. It really isn't a plug, even though it will be.
Plug away. This is all about getting the word out there.
But we do have our Instagrams. At 0 Point Activation, is the company's Instagram, and we are constantly putting out content that's hopefully helping the world to kind of understand where we're coming from and understand different modalities of healing that again are more holistic and that are enabling people to kind of go within. So definitely follow us on our social media. I'm also releasing a lot of music on mine at Josh the Keymaker. And you'll find Andrea and Lightbringer through both of those pages as well. But and it's not just about us. I mean, follow the people that we follow. There's a whole world out there of people who are trying to help the world understand that there is more to all of this than our day-to-day over and over and over. There's way more to this world than, you are born, you are raised, you go to school, you get married, you have kids, you get a job, you sit at a desk for 45 years until you get laid off or retire with a package, and then you rot and you die, right? There's a model there that has happened to so many people. And one of the things I love about the younger generation that I'm seeing right now, whether it's the teens, 20s, which to me is the younger generation, is they're recognizing this more and more and more. And they're realizing, I don't have to fall into that pattern, that there's more to this than just that. And as I mentioned before, that put yourself in difficult situations. Get yourself out of those situations. There's a word for that. That's learning. It's growing. It's elevating. And I encourage everybody, try to be uncomfortable sometimes. And I think that you're going to find that once you get out of that uncomfortableness, you will be a better person.
Well, thanks for sharing and dropping the places where we can find you, and also bringing all of that up. Where is there a specific website that you want to direct our listeners to as well?
Yeah, we definitely go to zeropointactivation.org. And that org is so important because we are constantly having people go to the wrong site, or wrong URL. 0pointactivation.org. We also have content on there where people can go and learn a little bit more about mental health, learn more about sound healing, learn more about Tai Chi and yoga and art therapy and breathwork and the different modalities that we do and why they're important.
Nice. And for the next generation of facilitators, what core skills or qualities do you believe will be essential in holding space and guiding others through healing?
It's a really great question. If you are up and coming, my plea to you, I would say, is don't get stuck in one modality. I learned this from the video production world that, when I was upcoming, I was a composer and a musician. And I had plenty of work just writing music for commercials and for TV shows and video games and such. And when music libraries came out, which was around the same time as 2008, where a lot of people just didn't have the abundance they had before, everybody had upskill. Everyone had to learn more and more and more skills. And ever since then in video production, you can't survive. There's a small handful of people who can. Most people, you need to be able to do as many things as you possibly can. So you're not just a camera operator. You're not just an editor. You're not just a sound person. You need to learn all those skills. And when it comes to modalities of healing, learn as many as you possibly can. Whether you get certified in them or just go on to Udemy or YouTube or any of these education sites, you can be a sound healer and a breath worker and a channeler. You can be a yoga instructor and also jump into Tai Chi, because it's not just for old people, it's for anybody with energy. Jump into as many modalities as you possibly can, and you never know where those things are going to lead.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Josh, the Keymaker, for jumping on the podcast today. It's been a pleasure to interview you and just learn more about what you do and the communities that you serve.
I really appreciate you and appreciate the podcast and appreciate everything you are doing. And thank you to everybody who either watched or listened. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Aligned Impact. I'm truly grateful to have you here in this growing community of leaders, innovators, and conscious change makers. Check the show notes for all the links and resources we mentioned today, and you can explore more of my work and programs over at FlowShala.com or connect with me on social media at Summer Huntington and YouTube as well for behind the scenes movement inspiration and business tips. Stay tuned for more episodes of Aligned Impact that inspire you to lead with intention, get empowered, and create aligned impact in your life and your community.